What's up, Comicbook.com? BD here at the studio at San Diego Comic-Con. Very excited right now because I'm being joined by a legend. Michael Uslan is here. First of all, you've been involved with so many cool projects. We're going to talk about that, but you're also you're a legend at Comic-Con. You were just telling me you've been here since the first one.
Very first one.
I want to start there. What I imagine things are a little different.
Oh, slightly. Slightly. You know, you got to remember this was before San Diego Comic-Con, because Comic-Con started in New York City. And I was 13 years old, July 4th weekend. It was hot, it was sticky, and we were in a Fleabag hotel in downtown New York. 200 of us showed up at that Comic-Con. And it was the first time fans got a chance to meet face to face. Maybe pimple to pimple would be more like it. And 197 guys, 3 girls. Girls did not read comic books back then. I mean, there's 3 girls here, incredible. There were only like 3 dealers at that point selling comic books. So what we did was we'd bring a gym bag loaded with our own comics, a blanket. We'd find a place in the ballroom, open up the thing, put out our comics, and we'd walk around and swap with other fans. And that's how it was done. So at that first Comic-Con was the first ever comic book auction. They were auctioning off 2 comic books for the first time ever. Action #1.
Oh my gosh.
Batman #1. So me and my friend Bobby were there, and we pooled our money together. And we had $22.50. So we weren't really interested in Action 1. We wanted Batman 1. So Action 1 went up for sale, and the damn thing, the auction price was $40. So we said, wow. If
that's like buying a Bitcoin 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, right now it's like having lunch and a bagel at Starbucks.
Yeah, I mean, right. That's what. Yeah, you never know it's just going to blow up like that.
Yeah. So $40. I think most recently it sold for about $3.5 million.
Yeah.
Or more.
Wow.
So we wanted Batman #1, and the bidding quickly gets up to $20. So I said to my friend Bobby, hold down the fort. Don't let them conclude this. I'm going to race to find my daddy and get more money. And I find my dad at the convention, and I said, I need more money. He says, Michael, these are adults taking advantage of children. They want to sell you a 10-cent comic book for $20? I said, Dad, please. He gave me $5. So we now had $27.50. I go back in, and now it's up to $25. And the bidding in this first auction is going up by increments of 25 cents. And finally, it's there, and we go, $27.50. And the auctioneer, Jerry Bales, goes, Batman #1 going once. Batman #1 going twice. Damn thing sold for $29.
No! Did you ever get your hands on one after that?
At the time of our first Batman movie coming out in 1989, my wife, as a birthday gift, bought me a copy of Batman #1.
Wow.
And in '89, she spent $35,000 for it.
Wow. Hey, talk about full circle.
Yeah.
And then that drive for Batman, I mean, you've built a hell of a career out of it.
Well, it was amazing. At that same convention, there's a sketchy bar in this sleazy hotel, and in it, I see 2 guys, and I recognized Otto Binder. He was like a mentor. Otto lived in New Jersey where I lived, and he had created Black Adam, Captain Marvel Jr., Mary Marvel, the Marvel Family book. And then he went over to DC where he created Supergirl, Brainiac, Crypto, Legion of Superheroes. An amazing writer. And he says, Michael, Bobby, come on in. So we go into this bar. And he said, are you boys getting dressed up at the masquerade tonight? This is the night cosplay was born, as far as I'm concerned. So I said, yeah, I'm going as the 1940 Sandman in a gas mask and a fedora. And Bobby said, and I'm going as the Shadow. And this quiet guy sitting next to Otto goes, well, you know, boys, the Shadow was the primary influence in the creation of Batman. And we said, wow, we didn't know that, and we're huge Batman fans. And Otto said, Michael, Bobby, how would you like to meet the creator of Batman? We go, yeah. He goes, kids, meet Bill Finger. I am one of maybe 2 people left on the planet who met Bill Finger, got his autograph, and Bill Finger told me how Batman was created.
That's unbelievable.
It was amazing.
Do you now, I mean, you've produced so many projects in animation and in film that are Batman-centric. Do you feel like an obligation now to like a sense of responsibility?
I feel a personal responsibility, not only to Bill Finger and Bob Kane and Jerry Robinson, who was another mentor of mine, but to Otto Binder and to Joe Kubert and Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, to all of these guys who were denigrated during their lifetimes. People looked down their noses at comic books. They were subversive. Dr. Wortham came out with his book Seduction of the Innocent in 1954, blaming comic books for the post-World War II rise in juvenile delinquency. He said comic books cause asthma because children were staying indoors to read them instead of playing in the fresh air. All these guys were so denigrated, and I wanted to not only restore the darkness and dignity to Batman, I wanted to give the dignity back to the creators. I wanted if they couldn't make it, I wanted their kids, their grandkids, their great-grandkids to see their works hanging in museums and in galleries and in universities and make comic books and the creation of comic books respectable. And comic book superheroes treated as modern-day mythology. Comic books created as a legitimate American art form. And over my career, that's one of the two things I feel I've been able to help accomplish.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's awesome to hear that how that journey has gone for you, and now knowing where it's started. That's incredible.
Fanboy. I was ultimate geek.
I mean, I find it really interesting because, I mean, you had Keaton's Batman, you've had several Batman, you've had several superhero films. I feel like the current generation of films, the big pivotal moment came in 2008 with Dark Knight, which you're a producer on. Same year Iron Man releases and starts the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And those felt like the spark that really relentlessly still now lit the fire that was being laid by the films before them. Tobey's Spider-Man, Keaton's Batman, the X-Men movies, and all those things that were starting to revolutionize the superhero genre. And then I feel like ever since Dark Knight came along, it's never been the same.
No, it's never been the same. But there's one point I think you're missing. And it's true with Dark Knight. When Chris Nolan did the Dark Knight trilogy, you could walk out of a Chris Nolan Batman movie and you no longer needed to say that was a great comic book movie. You could say that was a great film. He elevated it, took it to a whole new level. But let's go back for a minute to Tim Burton, this young genius. There's never been a dark and revolutionary, serious comic book superhero movie before. And how do you do that? And it was Tim who came up with what I call the big idea. And it's so big an idea that it would revolutionize Hollywood, change the comic book industry, change the entire world's perception of comic book superheroes and supervillains, and open the door to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And here's what it was. He hires Michael Keaton, and I melt into the ground. I go, oh my God, we had just hired Jack Nicholson, who was my choice to play the Joker. And I was so on a high. And I said, how could you have Mr. Mom play Batman? We're trying to do a dark and serious movie. I've been working on this 7.5 years. And he said, calm down. He said, Michael, if we are going to do this in a dark and serious way and not have people unintentionally laughing when they see the actor getting dressed up as a bat, he said, this movie cannot be about Batman. And I was floored. He goes, it has to be about Bruce Wayne. We have to create a portrayal of Bruce Wayne so driven, so obsessed, to the point of being psychotic that audiences will go, yeah, that's a guy who would get dressed up as a bat and go out and do it. He goes, and with Michael Keaton, I can deliver on that. Audiences will buy that he is Batman. Think about what that change is. So Marvel starts with Iron Man and Spider-Man movies, right? Shouldn't they really be called Tony Stark and Peter Parker?
Oh yeah, the character has to come first.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's Tim's big idea and the influence he's had to this very day. And he had a corollary to it. The corollary was about the world building. He said, from the opening frames of our first movie, Gotham City must be the third most important character in the movie. Because we need audiences to believe in Gotham and suspend their disbelief on everything else, and that's the way they will buy a guy who looks like Batman and the Joker fighting. He was absolutely right. And that transformed everything.
Also, his design on Gotham was just...
That was Anton Furst.
Okay.
That was my dear friend Anton Furst. He's no longer with us. Anton won the Oscar. He designed Gotham City, the Batmobile, the look of the picture. His work to every weekend there's a new genre picture opening up. You can see the influence of Anton first. And Danny Elfman.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you're talking about Hans Zimmer, anybody, you can still hear the notes of Danny Elfman resonating in their work.
It's incredible. I mean, and then those movies even they go on to become rides at Six Flags. Like it became that put it all in the mainstream in a way that it was never there before.
It was not, and I always say there are all these brilliant folks who do the Batman animation, and they don't get the spotlight like they should.
Yeah.
Bruce Timm, Eric Radomski, Paul Dini, Alan Burnett, my dear friend Mark Hamill, and Kevin Conroy, Andrea Romano. These are the people that really deserve so much credit because I think some of the best Batman stories in the media have been told in the animation, especially Mask of the Phantasm.
And they're not only creating their versions of characters, they're even creating characters. Where do we get Harley from?
Correct.
And that's another thing that has revolutionized, and I think it's interesting to see when people learn, Harley wasn't created in a comic. She was created in an animated series.
Yeah,
it's fun.
And I would rather any day of the week watch the Mr. Freeze episodes in animation than watch Arnold punt his way through ice.
Yeah, and that's actually something that I wanted to ask you about those conversations, like when you find out Keaton is going to be Batman, but even like now, we've had Affleck, Pattinson, Bale, Clooney. What are those conversations like? Because both the director and the actor are such integral parts of creating the visual aspect, the tone. Like,
correct.
What do any of those conversations or any of those moments stand out to you as like, all right, we know what we're going for. Is this our guy? How do you determine that?
This is the way I think you determine it. You bring in a filmmaker who convinces you that he or she understands the character, loves the character, is passionate about the character, and has a vision for the character. And then if you believe that filmmaker is capable of executing that vision, as far as I'm concerned, my job is to be chief cheerleader and throw every kind of support I can to whatever that vision is, no matter how successful or unsuccessful it might ultimately turn out to be. So Tim had a definitive version with Michael Keaton and then Jack Nicholson. Definitive. And then you look at where it went from there. Joel Schumacher was told to make things lighter, brighter, kiddie-friendly, family-friendly. Everybody wanted to appease the toy companies and the Happy Meal folks. And of course, the toy companies say, well, gee, could you put in 3 heroes and 3 villains? Could each have 2 costume changes and 2 vehicles? And then, of course, I raise my hand. I go, isn't this now the tail wagging the dog? You're not making movies anymore. You're making 2-hour infomercials for toys. Why not get the best filmmakers with the most passion and the best ideas, make great films, and you'll sell toys anyway.
And I feel like that was really well displayed on another movie you worked on recently, which was Joker. You talked about how there are characters who are important characters. Joker showed a human being before the supervillain. I'd love to hear about, was it difficult to convince people to make a Joker movie?
First of all the credit in the world goes to the genius known as Todd Phillips.
For sure.
All right, let's start right there.
Joker was an astonishing film. And what Todd and Joaquin did, it was amazing. But I imagine that the studio, when you hear, we're going to do a villain movie, it's got to be a little bit of, are we?
So, kudos to the studio for allowing the guy who is known mostly for comedy to come in and do something daring and believe in the vision that he had. Same way, how do you give the keys to your most valuable franchise to a young independent filmmaker by the name of Christopher Nolan and have that kind of faith? So I'll be the first one to call out a studio when they screw up everything. But they also did these 2 great things. And I think cinema at its best is a mirror of society. And it holds a mirror up to your face and forces you to look at yourself, warts and all. Chris Nolan, his thematic heft in the Dark Knight trilogy, dealing with 9/11 and post-9/11 America, was amazing on so many levels. And to have that thematic heft in a comic book movie, a superhero movie, was pretty amazing. So to me, this is all to me, what Todd did, he did cinema at its best. And he held up the lens to our society and said, we are frickin' polarized. We have lost our civility. We no longer are talking with each other. We are talking at each other. We are disregarding issues of mental health, lost in the shuffle, without apparently acknowledging that mental health is tied directly into gun violence. Mm-hmm. And Joker deals with these. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I hated, and it happens all the time, so the naysayers all come out before the movie's released. They haven't seen it, and they organize petitions. Nobody should look at this movie. They should ban this movie because it glorifies gun violence. Well, in fact, it's the exact opposite. Yeah. The exact opposite. And I got out in the front lines and defended Todd and the movie. And I say this to all the fans because we get it all the time. The reaction against Tim Burton and Michael Keaton before social media, before computers, was electric. It was all around the world, the backlash. I thought they were going to circle the studio with pitchforks and torches.
Now they just fly banners.
Yeah, now they do that.
Yeah.
And say a lot of nasty stuff online. So, and then when Heath Ledger was announced that he was going to play the Joker, you get this backlash. Oh, you guys, how could you hire a gay cowboy to play the Joker? He's going to destroy this role for the rest of all creation. And now he's the actor
Definitive.
that everyone wants to play the Joker.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck, same kind of feedback. I said, well, this is Bruce Wayne in his mid-40s. He's bitter. He doesn't want to come back into it. He's dragged back kicking and screaming. Robert Pattinson. Oh, no, he's a kid and he doesn't look like... Well, then take a look at Matt Reeves' vision. Mm-hmm. And it's the beginning of his Batman journey. Yep. He looks more like a gymnast than ultimately the Dark Knight at this point. His car is not yet looking like the Batmobile. Yeah. And he's making mistakes, he's getting hurt, and he's learning, but you get to see he's the world's greatest detective.
I love Affleck's Batman so much. You think he's gonna... You think he'll do any more after Flash?
I have no idea whatsoever. To me, everybody gets their shot. Yeah. So you had Burton, you had Schumacher, and you had Chris Nolan, and now Todd Phillips, and now Matt Reeves. Yeah. Everybody gets a couple.
With Keaton being in Flash and Affleck being in Flash, are you involved with that?
Yeah.
So what it was like to get Keaton back?
It's like I was a 10-year-old boy jumping up and down, drooling. It's just so exciting to see him, to see the '89 Batmobile again. I mean, just so many different things. The '89 Batman was a dream come true for me that I had since I was a kid, to show the world the dark and serious Batman. When the TV show came on the air, which was A Cold Night in 1966, I was a teenager, and I knew the whole history of Batman. And I knew how he was created in 1939 as a creature of the night fighting these deeply disturbed guys. And I'm watching the show, and 20 minutes in, I go, oh my God, it's a comedy. They're making Batman into a joke. The whole world is laughing at Batman, and that just killed me. That night, in my basement den, I made a vow. Just like Bruce Wayne once made a vow. But he made his vow over the bloodied, slaughtered bodies of his parents in the street. My parents were safe upstairs in the kitchen. And I said, somehow, someday, someway, I am going to show the world the dark and serious Batman that Bill and Bob created. And I'm going to try to eliminate from the collective consciousness of the world culture these three new words, pow, zap, and wham. Mm-hmm. And that's what set me on my path that became, at first, a career destination, and ultimately became my life's destination.
Wow. Well, here you are.
Here I'd be.
And now that we have multiple people playing Batman in live action, I know animated films. We've had different series, we've had different movies.
Lego.
We can tell stories. Lego, absolutely. Now there's 3 currently active actors playing Batman. Do you guys talk about how audiences are going to be able to keep up, or things you have to do to make sure they're different?
Have you been watching the Marvel
yeah.
movies and the way they tie into the TV series? You need a flow chart.
There's just so much going on there.
And you need an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
To just try to keep track. I see people going in with their dates and going, how do they even know what they're starting to look at? How do they know about The Watcher?
They got to watch 26 other movies.
Yeah. Or read the damn comic books, for God's sake.
That's right.
It's we live in a complex world. The biggest danger we all have is doing cookie cutter movies, because that creates oversaturation and fans will get upset. So when Guardians of the Galaxy comes out and pushes the envelope, I love it.
Yeah.
When Deadpool came out, I said, push the envelope. I love it. And that's what you try with Joker, the Batman, Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
That's at its best.
Oh yeah, they're all definitive, and you can picture something clearly in your head when you think of any of these. Are there any stories that still want to see told in new mediums, whether it's Batman Beyond or Gotham by Gaslight? Anything in your head that would be fun to kind of revisit?
Oh my God, absolutely. Trouble is, if I say now, just generally as a fanboy,
sure.
Tomorrow on the internet,
That's
it's going to
true.
do. Oh, Batman producer
Confirmed.
announces, so I got to be gun shy about even just
Oh, wow.
the 10-year-old Michael thoughts in my head.
If you wanted to tell me we're getting No Man's Land with Pattinson, I mean, I'm...
You know what's great though? The filmmakers, they're reading the material.
Yeah, you can tell.
They know Court of Owls. They know No Man's Land. They know The Killing Joke. And this is a big change. This is a sea change. It's a good thing.
Yeah. And I have to ask you before I let you go. We know Todd and Joaquin are doing a Joker sequel.
Yes.
I mean, how's that shaping up? What can we expect?
I am thrilled.
Oh my
I am
gosh.
thrilled. Once again, it is going to be bold, daring, and a complete reinvention of what a comic book movie can be. And as the details will begin to slip out, it will become more and more apparent how daringly different this is going to be.
I mean, I read the report that there's a musical element to it. Are you guys actually? I don't know if you could. I have to ask because that's genuinely one of the most curious things I've heard. Because I remember people were like mentioned, musical. There was backlash online, and then people started saying, well, you all had backlash to Heath Ledger, and then what happened? So I would love to hear, is that something you can talk about? Because I know that's going to be one of the biggest risks a movie like this could take, but it could also then be one of the biggest payoffs.
There you go. And that's what this greatness of this business is about. Much better to take the chance, be bold and daring and creative without undermining the integrity of the characters, which is clear. I trust Todd Phillips. I trust him babysitting for my grandkids. How's that? And Batman is one of my kids. So, he's in great hands. He's in great hands. And before I go, my mentor, my idol, my friend, Stan Lee, always told me, Michael, make sure you get in the plug before you leave.
Let's hear it.
So I have written my memoir. It's called The Boy Who Loved Batman, available on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com. The audiobook version, which I narrate, is out now too. When the Batman movie opened in March, they released the sequel memoir. It's called Batman's Batman, also an audiobook. And tonight at 6:45 p.m., right here in San Diego, we are going to announce my Broadway play.
Amazing. Batman on stage.
It is going to be The Boy Who Loved Batman on stage. It is going to be the play about you and me and her. It's about all the fans who grew up loving Batman and grew up looking for community and grew up where their morals and ethical codes were influenced by it, and having people shun them because they were reading and collecting comic books, but just how much superheroes meant to them and how much they found real life superheroes in a sacrificing parent, in a great teacher, and how they found super villains throughout life with those who just didn't understand what we were like and about our passion for this. And as I say, at the end of the day, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Here we are.
And it's going to be a really, really fun play that I hope will resonate with every single comic book and movie fan.
We talked about the pressure of casting Batman, the pressure of casting you, my friend. That's
I'm sitting in a creative meeting, and I go, now wait a minute. I don't think 10-year-old Michael would have said that. And I go, holy, I'm talking about myself in the third person. This is really weird.
What an experience. Well, congratulations. I mean, you deserve it. You have carved out an incredible path for yourself just by following a passion and sharing that passion with the rest of us and allowing us to create friends and opportunities like this for ourselves. And so thank you for your work and your dedication to it.
Thank you so much.
Thank
This
you.
was fun.
Thank you, Comicbook.com. Stay tuned for more from San Diego Comic-Con.